Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the News Today edition of 17th of January. My name is Anuj and I will be taking today's session. In today's session, we will be covering 5 main news, 8 quick update and 1 personality news. In the first main news, we will be covering about removal of Supreme Court and High Court judges. Then in the second main news, we will be covering about UN High Sea Treaty which has came into the force. Then we will be covering about the emergence of a third global strategic pole. Then we will be covering about India and Japan relation as the 18th India-Japan Strategic Dialogue held in New Delhi. Then we will be covering about Integrated Ombudsman Scheme 2026 as Reserve Bank of India has issued the Reserve Bank Integrated Ombudsman Scheme for 2026. Then we will be briefly covering 8 quick update and 1 personality in news. The personality in news for today is Thiruvalluvar. So this is the brief about today's session. So let us begin with the discussion of the first main news. The context of the first main news is that Supreme Court has upheld Lok Sabha's Speaker's formation of inquiry committee to remove Justice Yashwant Verma. So this is the context. In this news, we will be covering about the constitutional provision which are related to removal of Supreme Court and High Court judges and the procedure which is there for the removal of higher judiciary judges. It is important aspect in prelims as well as in the mains examination. For that we will be discussing the PYQ which is directly related to this article, and it is there in paper 2 where syllabus talks about structuring, organization and functioning of executive and the judiciary. So let us begin the discussion of this news. First of all, the development. So here the Supreme Court has observed that the rejection of a motion against a judge in any one of the house, that might be Lok Sabha or the Rajya Sabha, would not render the other house to proceed with the investigation and form a inquiry committee. We will be learning about this whole procedure in the coming slide. For now, this is the development, and this development is not that important, but the procedure and the constitutional provisions are very important. Let us discuss those. First of all, the constitutional provision which are related to removal of these judges, that might be Supreme Court judge or the High Court judge. First of all, Article 124 and Article 218 provide for the removal of the judges. Article 124 for the removal of judge of Supreme Court and Article 218 for the High Court. These are the articles which are related to the removal of the judges. Please note here that the term impeachment is not mentioned for the removal of judges. It is mentioned in Article 61 of the Constitution. Please read about Article 61 and to which and to whom this impeachment term is mentioned there. Such types of article are important for your prelims examination. That can be Article 61, Article 124 or Article 218. Then what are the grounds for removal for a higher judiciary judges? The ground here is proven misbehavior and incapacity. But these terms are not defined in our Constitution. So here the ground for removal is proven misbehavior and incapacity, but these terms are not defined in our Constitution. Then the procedure for removal is regulated by the Judges Inquiry Act of 1968. So these are the constitutional provisions related to removal of judges. In the next slide, we will be learning about the procedure. So let us discuss the procedure. So what are the steps in the removal process? First of all, the initiation. There is a requirement of a motion. In the case of Lok Sabha, there should be a sign of 100 members, and in the case of Rajya Sabha, there should be a sign of 50 members. That is given in the first statement. A motion must be signed at least by 100 Lok Sabha members or 50 Rajya Sabha members, and that motion will go to the Rajya Sabha chairman or the Lok Sabha speaker. They can accept that motion or they can reject that motion. Okay, this is a very important fact here. They can accept that motion even if that is signed by 100 Lok Sabha members or 50 Rajya Sabha members, or they can reject it. If they admit it, it is referred to a 3-member inquiry committee which is formed by the Lok Sabha speaker or the Rajya Sabha chairman. And that committee will consist of a Supreme Court judge, Chief Justice of High Court, and a distinguished jurist. So there will be 3 members in that committee, and they will consist of a Supreme Court judge, a Chief Justice of a High Court, and a distinguished jurist. And that committee will be formed and constituted by the Speaker of the Lok Sabha or the chairperson of the Rajya Sabha. I think till here it is very clear. Then this committee will submit its report to the Speaker or the chairperson respectively in the case of Lok Sabha and the Rajya Sabha. And they will lay the report before the relevant house of the Parliament. After that report findings, Parliament can discuss and consider and debate about the findings of that report. So this is the procedure. Then the next step in the procedure is that there is a requirement of Parliament approval and with a special majority. And here the special majority is majority of that house and 2/3 majority of present and voting. So here please be very clear, special majority in this case is that the total majority of that house and 2/3 majority of the members who are present and voting. So it is simple. Then there is requirement of presidential action. So judge can be only removed, only, extreme statement. A judge can be removed only by an order of President based on the motion passed by both the houses of the Parliament. When both the houses pass that motion with the special majority, that goes to the President, and President can only remove by an order. Okay, the appointment authority for the Supreme Court judges and High Court judges are also President. So this procedure is very difficult. That's why till now no higher judiciary judge has been successfully removed. So this was all about this news. Now let us discuss one PYQ related to this news. So the PYQ is from year 2019 prelims examination, and the question is, consider the following statement. Statement 1, the motion to impeach a judge of the Supreme Court of India cannot be rejected by the Speaker of the Lok Sabha. That can be rejected. We have discussed this. So this is an wrong statement. Then second, the Constitution of India defined and gives detail of or what constitute incapacity and proved misbehavior of the judges of Supreme Court of India. So these terms are not defined. So that's why this statement is also wrong. So option A and option D gets eliminated. We have left with the two options B and C. So third statement, the detail of the procedure of impeachment of the judges of Supreme Court of India are given in the Judges Inquiry Act of 1968. It is an correct statement. Then Statement 4, if the motion for the impeachment of a judge is taken up for the voting, the law requires the motion to be backed by each house of the parliament and supported by a majority of total membership of that house and by not less than 2/3 of the total member of that house present and voting. This is also an correct statement. This statement is talking about the special majority. Then answer will be C, 3 and 4 only. This information can be used in the mains examination as well, as this year there was a question about the issues in the collegium system. So in that case, you can write about the transfer and the removal process. That is very difficult, as Justice Verma was transferred from Delhi to Allahabad court. Okay, so these issues can be mentioned in the answer for supporting some of your points. So this was all about the first news. Now let us move to the second news for today. The second news for today is about UN High Sea Treaty. Okay, it has came into the force. Okay, so the requirement to come into the force was that after ratification by 60 members and the passage of 120 days after the ratification of 60 members, this treaty will come into the force. So this treaty has came into the force from 17th of January. In this news, we will be covering about the meaning of high seas, what are there in this treaty, and is India member of it or ratified it or signed it. That is very important, that we will be covering in this news. It is related to GS paper 2, where syllabus talks about important international institution, and GS paper 3, where syllabus talks about conservation and environmental pollution. Let us discuss this news. So the development is that this treaty has came into the force, and it is officially known as Biodiversity Beyond National Jurisdiction Agreement, and it is a legally binding treaty under UN that covers the ocean zone that lies beyond the national waters. Here we have to understand two things: the resources in the ocean. So basically, in ocean there are two types of resources. One is biotic resources and another one is abiotic resources. Then biotic resources are also classified into plant-based biotic resources and animal-based resources. Then in abiotic, it is mineral resources and energy resources. These are some kind of the resources in the ocean. Biotic, abiotic. Biotic is again classified into plant-based and animal-based, and abiotics are minerals and energy resources. These things are about the resources in the ocean. Now let us learn about what is high sea and why we consider it as global common. We also consider space as global common, Antarctica as well as the global common. So these are some terms and we consider them as global commons. So basically, high sea is beyond the 200 nautical mile from the coast of an country or island as well. That is considered as high sea. So how is the division of the seas? So from the baseline up to 12 nautical mile, it is considered as the territorial sea. Then till 24 nautical mile, that is from 12 nautical mile to 24 nautical mile, it is considered as contiguous zone. Then up to 200 nautical mile, it is considered as exclusive economic zone of that country. And after this 200 nautical mile, that is considered as high sea. one more information is given in this infographic, that is, till the territorial sea, it is under national airspace, and after that 12 nautical mile, it is international airspace. Okay, that is a relevant information. For here, the important information is that high sea is beyond the economic exclusive zone of a country. That is beyond 200 nautical mile from the coast of a country. That is high sea. And in this treaty, we are talking about the high sea, which constitute about 2/3 of the global oceans. That's why it is very important. Let us discuss what are there under this treaty. First of all, it was adopted in 2023. Even India has signed this treaty, but not ratified it. India has not ratified this treaty, but have signed this. When we were discussing the context, how this treaty can come into the force, it can come into the force after ratification of 60 members and passage of 120 days after this ratification by 60 members. Okay, so that is, we have discussed that in the context. So it was adopted in 2023 and by the Intergovernmental Conference on Marine Biodiversity of Areas Beyond National Jurisdiction, conveyed under the United Nations. The areas beyond the national jurisdiction is high seas. So we are talking about the marine biodiversity. Okay, we have discussed about the resources in the ocean. They are classified into biotic and abiotic. So basically this treaty talks about the biotic resources. Previously we have two treaty, that one we signed in 1994, part 11. It talks about the mineral resources. Then we have also one more treaty, that is 1995 UN Fish Stock Agreement, that talks about fishes, and this is a continuity of these two agreement, and it talks about the marine biodiversity. Okay, then what is its objective? Its objective is simple: to ensure the conservation and sustainable use of marine biological diversity of areas beyond national jurisdiction. That means the marine biodiversity of the High Sea Treaty are to be protected and conserved under this treaty. Let us discuss the other aspect of this treaty. So basically it addresses four main issues. First, the marine genetic resources, including the fair and equitable sharing of benefits. So the marine resources or the genetic resources which are there in the high seas, this treaty talks about the fair and equitable sharing of benefits that is arising out of those marine genetic resources. Then this treaty talks about area-based management tool. Under this, it talks about the protected areas. So this treaty said that there should be more and more protected areas in the high seas. Then it talks about environmental impact assessment. So if there is a project in the high sea, there should be environmental impact assessment. You might have read about environmental impact assessment. Okay, that is to be considered in the high seas as well. Then it talks about capacity building and the transfer of marine technology. If some country develop a technology for conducting a research or catching the genetic resources from the high seas, that should be transferred. These are the four main issues that are discussed in this treaty. Then it also established a funding mechanism and set up institutional arrangement, including a conference of parties, a clearing house mechanism, and a secretariat. So this is the establishment under this treaty. Then about the member, 83 nations have ratified this treaty. India has signed this treaty, but not ratified it. It is important fact that we have already discussed is that India has not ratified this treaty. So this was all about this news. Let us discuss the PYQ which are related to this news. So these PYQs are not directly related to this news. Okay, so let us read them. There is PYQ question from 2021. The question is, which one of the following is a filter feeder? So basically filter feeder is a organism which filter the water areas. So this is a question, and these types of questions are coming in the prelims examination. That's why you should be very curious about the things which are going in and around. So the option are catfish, octopus, oyster and pelicans. The answer is oysters. So basically they filter the nitrogen, extra nitrogen from the water. Okay, they eat them and their gills filter out the nitrogens. Then there is one more related PYQ from the mains examination. The question is, defining blue revolution explains the problem and strategies of pisciculture development in India. Okay. In 1 or 2 points you can talk about this treaty, that's it. That's why I said this is a related PYQ, not a direct PYQ. Okay. This was a PYQ from the year 2018. Okay. So with this, we have completed the discussion of this news. Now let us move to the next news. The next news is about the emergence of the third global strategic pole. So in this news, we will be learning about the meaning of this global strategic pole, that is third global strategic pole, and we will be reading about its relevance to India. It is related to GS paper 3, international relation. Sorry, paper 2, international relation. Okay, it is wrongly mentioned here. It is part of paper 2, international relation. Now let us discuss the news. First of all, the development. Why we are talking about the third pole? So you might know about the coming of Chancellor of the Germany to India. Previously, the chancellors of Germany used to first visit China or Japan when they used to visit to Asia. But this chancellor has visited India at his first visit to Asia. And any visit in international relation is a strategic visit. Okay. So here, in the era marked by the waning Russian influence and increasing unpredictable United States. So what this statement means, that the United States is becoming very unpredictable, and on the other hand, Russia is becoming weak as it is fighting wars. Okay, that's why there is a requirement, and the idea of a third pole has gained relevance in the global geopolitics. And what this term means, this term and this concept refer to a strategic alignment of India with Germany and by extension Europe and the other middle powers. So the middle powers will act like a third pole and move forward, and moving forward the globe for a better future. This is the meaning of third pole. And this third pole global power center can shape the multipolar order based on shared values, openness, transparency and accountability, so that the global order can move in a better way. That is the idea behind this third pole. Okay, let us discuss further. So there will be a India and EU summit in the next in the next months. Then also we will be discussing about this concept of third pole, and we will be also discussing about the free trade agreement with the European Union. Okay, now let us come to the how this third pole, and how can India leverage the third global pole? First of all, diversification of strategic partnership. So India can reduce excessive dependence on any single power bloc. That can be US, that can be Russia. So there will be diversification. Second, it is relevant because of economic resilience. So India can mitigate risk from unilateral trade action through deeper integration with the EU and Germany. You might be knowing that the Germany is the third largest economy and India is the fourth largest economy. So we can leverage this position and there can be economic resilience. Okay. Then the third pole can save the global economic architecture by diversifying away from the US and China supply chains. So basically supply chains mostly are now centered around China and USA. Whenever we are talking about tariff war, G2, we are talking about China or USA. So we can diversify or we can save the global economic architecture diversifying away from these supply chains and also the supply chain of South-South economic cooperation. So India, EU, Germany, these countries can come together and form the third pole. Further, there are other advantages and relevance as well, such as it can strengthen the industrial ecosystem. So in this article it was given that the Germany will co-develop various technology with India and India can send skilled labor force to Germany to work there. That is the advantage. Then it will also lead to the credible voice in the global governance. As you might be knowing that UNSC is not functioning at that well. WTO is defunct. So that's why they can become a credible voice in the global governance. And India and Germany are part of G4. What is G4 for? That is for permanent membership or increasing the permanent membership in the UNSC. The other two countries are Japan and Brazil. Okay. Then it is also important for leadership in the global south, that is for India, as India can advocate for climate finance, debt relief and development justice for the global south. Okay, so this was about the third pole and how can India leverage the third pole. Now let us discuss one PYQ which is not directly related but can be inferred from this. So broad-based trade and investment agreement, BTIA, is sometimes seen in the news in the context of negotiation held between India and, this is a PYQ from year 2017. Option A, European Union. Option B, Gulf Cooperation Council. Option C, Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development. And option D, Shanghai Cooperation Organization. So these are the four options. The answer is European Union. So when we were discussing, we also discussed that there will be India and EU summit where we will be talking about this agreement. Okay, this agreement has not been finalized yet. Okay, so with this, we have completed the discussion of this news. Now let us move to the next news for today. The next news is about India and Japan relation, and the context is that the 18th India-Japan Strategic Dialogue has held in New Delhi, and respective foreign ministers have met and discussed the various aspects of the relation. It is relevant to paper 2 where syllabus talks about international relations. Now let us discuss this news. First of all, the development. So both the ministers have reaffirmed the upward trajectory and made some key announcement. Okay, these announcements are not extraordinary, but they are relevant. The first announcement is to launch Japan-India private sector dialogue on economic security, that is for better cooperation within the first quarter of 2026. So this year in the first quarter, there will be the launch of Japan-India private sector dialogue on economic security. So under this, there will be focus on 5 areas. One is semiconductor, then critical minerals, then information and communication, technology, clean energy, and pharmaceutical. So this framework will be launched in the first quarter of 2026, and there will be focus on 5 areas, that is semiconductor, critical minerals, information and communication technology, clean energy, and pharmaceuticals. You can also see the Japan map. Okay, whenever you are writing a mains answer, you can draw the map to enhance the answer. Then there is also talks about the establishment of Japan-India's AI strategic dialogue under the Japan AI Cooperation Initiative. So they are saying that we will establish the Japan-India AI strategic dialogue for better cooperation and governance of AI. Even the Japan foreign minister has said that in the upcoming months there is AI Impact Summit in India. That in that also they will be participating or playing a major role. Okay, that summit is there in India, AI Impact Summit. Okay, then they also talked of early convening of the critical minerals. Okay, they also talks about the mineral resources, because critical minerals are becoming very important and their supply chain has been disturbed as China has banned export of some of the rare earth minerals. Okay, so that's why critical minerals and rare earth minerals also become important. Now let us discuss about India and Japan relation. First of all, they are strategic partners and our relation was upgraded to special strategic and global partnership in year 2014. Then there is economic cooperation as well, as India and Japan has signed FTA in the year 2011. And the bilateral trade between India and Japan is US dollar 22.85 billions in the year of 2023 and 24. Okay. Japan is the largest contributor to official development assistance to India. Such types of facts are also important, that Japan is the largest contributor to India in official development assistance. Okay. Then when it comes to security and defense cooperation, there is 2+2 ministerial dialogues. In this, there is dialogue between defense ministers and foreign ministers. Then there are joint exercises such as JIMEX, that is for Navy. Then there is Dharma Guardian, that is the joint exercise between armies. Then there is Malabar, that is a joint exercise between USA, Japan and India. And recently Australia was also invited to participate in Malabar. Then they also participate in Milan exercise, that is also a multilateral exercise hosted by India. Then coming to the development corporations, Japan cooperate in Mumbai-Ahmedabad high-speed rail project and India-Japan Act East Forum, through which they support the development in the northeastern region. But there are some issues in the relationship as well, such as their focus when it comes to China is on the South China Sea and Taiwan Strait, but our focus is on actual line of control. Okay, so there is divergence. Then there is slow implementation of projects such as the Mumbai-Ahmedabad high-speed rail, that the process in that project is slow. So these are some issues. Even the bilateral trade is not that high. That should be the potential. That is the potential of our countries. We have not achieved the potential in the trade as well. So these are some concerns. Now let us discuss the global relevance for India and Japan relation. First of all, about multilateral cooperation. When we were discussing about India and Germany, we talked about G4. In that, even Japan is there. India, Germany, Japan, and Brazil. Okay, that group is for restructuring the UNSC. So there is cooperation at multilateral cooperation, and there is partnership for rule-based global order along with coordination in Quad, G4 grouping, and G20. So there is cooperation in Quad. The other members are also there in Quad, G4 grouping, and G20. Then there is Africa engagement. So India and Japan, along with the partner countries from the Africa, tried to uplift the African nations by the development. And our development is different from China's development, as we want the countries to develop on themselves and we believe in capacity building. Whereas China consider them as the territory and sometimes lead to the debt diplomacy. So that is the difference. And here we are doing development corridor, that is establishment of the Asia-Africa growth corridor from the year 2017, and Japan-India cooperation initiative for sustainable economic development in Africa. These are the two development corridor where India and Japan are working closely. Then there is de-risking of global economy. What it means that we, along with the Australia, we have formed the supply chain resilience initiative. So we have talked about global supply chain that is moving around two countries and there are disruption in global supply chain. That's why India, Japan and Australia has formed a group that is supply chain resilience initiative to diversify supply chain. The issue of supply chain we have discussed in the last news, that the supply chains are mostly revolving around the countries such as China and USA. So there is need for the diversification of the supply chain. That's why the initiative, that is supply chain resilience initiative, which is formed by India, Japan and Australia. That should be very clear. That with this we have completed this news, and let us discuss PYQ, which are not directly related to this, but the information from this article can be used. The first PYQ is from the year 2019, and the question is, the time has come for India and Japan to build a strong contemporary relations, or one involving global and strategic partnership that will have a great significance for Asia and the world as a whole. We have discussed what is the relevance of India and Japan at the global level. The information from that can be used in this question. Then there is one PYQ from the year 2020. The question is, quadrilateral security dialogue, that is Quad, is transforming itself into a trade bloc from a military alliance in the present time. Discuss. So here we have to need to discuss about the Quad and what are various trade relations and how it is transforming as a trade bloc from the military alliance. That is the question from the year 2020 mains examination. So with this, we have completed this news. Now let us move to the last main news for today. The last main news for today is about integrated ombudsman scheme of 2026. And what is the context? The context is that Reserve Banks of India had issued Reserve Bank Integrated Ombudsman Scheme 2026, and it is related to GS paper 3, where syllabus talks about economic development. So now let us discuss this news. First of all, the development. We have discussed the context. So here we will talk about Integrated Ombudsman Scheme 2026. So it is a scheme for resolving the customer grievances in relation to the service provided by the entities regulated by RBI. Before moving further, let us understand about this integrated ombudsman scheme in a brief. So basically, there was 3 ombudsman scheme by the RBI. One was for the banking, another one was for the NBFCs, banking, then another one for NBFCs, and another one for the digital transactions. So these three were merged together in the year 2021, and that was named as Integrated Ombudsman Scheme. Now that scheme is now Integrated Ombudsman Scheme of 2026. Now let us understand what are there under this Ombudsman Scheme. First of all, the banking institution, that can be commercial bank, regional rural bank, or the cooperative banks. Then NBFCs are also there. Then prepaid payment instrument issuers are also there, and credit information companies are also there. What are credit information companies? Credit information companies are the companies which provide the credit score. Those are the credit information companies. And in NBFCs, in the non-banking financial companies, there is various type of companies that are there. Core investment companies is there, infrastructure debt fund NBFCs are there. So you don't have to remember all these, but you have to remember that this scheme is applicable to the banking institutions, it is applicable to NBFCs, it is applicable to the prepaid payment instrument issuers, credit information companies. And this scheme, the RBI has the power under the RBI Act of 1934, Banking Regulation Act of 1949, and the Payment and Settlement Act of 2007. So under these acts, the RBI has power to form this scheme. This is the development. Now let us discuss the scheme in detail. First of all, the key feature, what is its aim? Basically, its aim is to provide a cost-effective, expeditious, non-adversarial alternate grievance redressal mechanism. In simple terms, suppose we have issues with the banking services. They have said that they will provide some services, but that service is not provided by that bank. So we can go to the ombudsman's officer, which will be appointed by the RBIs, and we can resolve the matter. That complaint can be sent through physical or the digital format that is given in this scheme. The RBI ombudsman. So the RBI will appoint one or more of its officers as the RBI ombudsman. We have discussed this. Then it will also form the centralized receipt and processing centers that to be established by the RBI to receive and process the complaint, the digital complaints. We can also send the physical complaint by the letters. Then moving forward to the other key features of this scheme, what are the powers of ombudsman? So now there will be no limit on the dispute amount that can be brought before the RBI ombudsman. So there is no limit, and it has power. The RBI ombudsman officers will have power, and they can provide a compensation of up to 30 lakhs. And additional 3 lakhs can also be given if someone has invested time and money to bringing that issue. So the power is up to compensation of 30 lakhs, and additional 3 lakhs can be provided. Then what are the grounds of complaint? The ground of complaints are which are act or omissions of the regulated entities. What are the regulated entities? Which we have discussed in the first slide. Banks, NBFCs, payment systems, and the credit companies, credit information companies, which have resulted in deficiency in the services. So basically, if they have deficiency in the services which are provided by them, so there can be a complaint against those regulated entities. Then if the ombudsman has given a order, there can be appeal. That appeal can be made by the regulated entities, or the complainant may file an appeal before the appellate authority within the 60 days. That means their order is not final, and there can be an appeal in case of the order given by the RBI Ombudsman. So with this, we have completed the discussion of this news. Now let us discuss one PYQ which is directly related to this news. The PYQ is from the year 2010. The PYQ is from the year 2010. So basically the question is, with reference to the institution of the banking ombudsman in India, which of the following statement is not correct? So this is the question we have talked about, that the banking ombudsman scheme was there, which was integrated in this scheme. Banking ombudsman scheme was there, NBFC ombudsman scheme was there, even the digital payments ombudsman scheme was there, which was integrated together. Here they are talking about banking ombudsman scheme, but the concept was same at that time as well. That's why you can solve this question from this information. The question is, please read the various options given in this question. Option A, the banking ombudsman is appointed by the Reserve Bank of India. This is an correct statement. Then option B, the banking ombudsman can consider complaint from non-resident Indian having accounts in India. Basically, if they have accounts in India, in banks, that complaint can be considered. Then the order passed by the banking ombudsmen are final and binding on the parties concerned. We have discussed this, that their orders are not final, there can be appeal that can be made against those orders. So that is the correct option, as question is about the not correct statement. So with this, we have completed the main news for today. Now let us discuss the personality in news for today. The personality in news for today is Thiruvalluvar. And what is the context? The context is that the Prime Minister of India has paid tribute to Thiruvalluvar on the Thiruvalluvar Day. This is the context. Now let us discuss about the Thiruvalluvar in detail. So basically he was a Tamil poet, Tamil philosopher, poet, thinker, and have thought to be lived in Mylapore, that is in Chennai. So we are not sure that where he lived, but he is thought to have lived in Mylapore, Chennai. Okay, so he was a great Tamil philosopher, poet, as well as a thinker. He is very important for your ethics examination as well. There can be a direct quote which can be there in your examination of the Thiruvalluvar. He is known for his Tamil literary work that is known as Thirukural, and it is a collection of couplet on matters like ethics, politics, economics and law. So basically this literary work consists the issues of ethics, politics, economics and law. That's why I said that he is very important for your ethics examination. And in this has been classified under three major headlines, that is Aram, Porul and Ibam. Aram stand for righteousness, Porul stand for wealth and Ibam stand for law. There is a very famous Thiruvalluvar statue in the Kanyakumari. It is very high. It is, I think, up to 40 meters. That is around 140 or 120 feet. And it was sculpted by V. Ganapati Stapati in Kanyakumari, that is there in Tamil Nadu. It is a tourist attraction and it is a very high statue. Okay, so this was about Thiruvalluvar. With this, we have completed the personality in news for today. Now let us discuss the quick update for today. The first quick update for today is intrinsically disordered protein. So in this news, we will be covering about these proteins and what is the context. The context here is that the Indian researchers have developed an open source AI tool which is known as Dishobind. Okay, the name of this tool is also important and it predicts the interaction of IDPS using protein language model. So that's, and under this context, the development here is that there has been development of an open source AI tool which have studied or have a data of large number of proteins. That's why they can predict the interactions of IDPS using the protein language model. So this is the development. Now let us understand about IDPS. Basically, some proteins are stables and they are very easy to predict how they will behave in the case of a disease or how they will behave in the case of vaccines. But these IDBs are flexible, safe shifters protein segment that do not have a single fixed structure. That's why it is very difficult to predict them, that how they will behave. And what are their functions? Their functions consist of health. They play an important role in health and diseases. They form a part of cell signaling, that is the transmission of information from one cell to the another. They also play an important role in gene regulation, as they regulate that which gene are to be switched on or off, and assist the protein in folding and quality control. That's why they regulate the genes as well. And they also plays an important role in cancer progression and neurodegeneration. In neurodegeneration, there are some protein left that lead to the degeneration of the nervous system. Okay, so these are about intrinsically disordered protein. Now let us move to the next quick update. The next quick update is about the Sukhatame National Award in Statistics. So this is the second quick update, and the development is that the government has invited the nomination for this award. Okay, in this news we will be covering about this award. As we have seen in last 2 to 3 years, there are questions coming in the prelims examination based on the awards. So basically these awards are under the Ministry of Statistics and Program Implementation. And what is its aim? Its aim is to recognize the contribution made by the individuals in terms of high quality research work to improve the system of official statistics. That is the aim under this award. So these awards are given to recognize the contribution made by the individual in terms of high quality research work to improve the systems of official statistics. That is the aim. Then what its frequency? It is given in 2 years, and it was started in the year 2000. Then who are eligible? Basically Indian statistician of the age of 45 years and above for their lifetime contribution and achievements. So only Indians are allowed to give the nomination, and even the individual can give or the organization can put forward the nomination. That is the nomination procedure, and only Indian statisticians are allowed who are above the age of 45 years. So this was about this award. Now let us move to the next quick update is about netting of funds for foreign portfolios investors, FPIs. So if you are reading newspaper, you might be reading that FPIs are moving out of the countries. And to enhance the efficiency, SEBI has proposed some rule. That rule we will be learning in this quick update. The context here is that in order to enhance operational efficiency and reduce costs for FPIs, the SEBI has proposed to allow the netting of funds for FPIs transaction in the cash market. So the meaning of this is that netting will allow FPI to use the same day sale proceed to fund same day purchases in the cash market. So what is the meaning of this? Suppose I have a security and I am selling that security, and I want to buy another security, but I need additional fund. So that fund I have gotten can be used to fund the buying of that, and I have to give extra fund that is required to buy that security. That is the meaning of netting. And what is its purpose? Its purpose is to reduce the liquidity pressure and funding cost for the FPIs. But there is one safeguard, that is it applies only for the outright transaction done by the FPIs. That means it cannot be used for the same security. That means I am selling A security and then again I am buying that same A security. Suppose there are two securities, A and B. So I cannot sell A and again buy A. I can sell A and buy B. So that is the safeguard given under the proposed SEBI rules. Okay, so with this, we have completed this quick update. Now let us move to the next quick update. The next quick update is about Committee of Privileges. And the context here is that the Rajya Sabha Privilege Committee will examine a complaint against a member of parliament for alleged breach of privileges and contempt of house. So for better functioning of parliament, there are some of the privileges which are given to the MPs. So there have been a complaint that there has been a breach of that privilege. That's why the committee, Rajya Sabha committee, privilege committee will examine that complaint. Please read about the rule 203 of Rajya Sabha to get a better picture of the context. So now let us understand about Committee of Privileges. What its nature? It is a standing parliamentary committee. That means it's not an ad hoc, and it is established every year. And members are nominated by the chairman in the case of Rajya Sabha and by the speaker in the case of Lok Sabha. And Rajya Sabha committee has 10 members, whereas the Lok Sabha committee has the 15 members. With this information, you might be clear that each house has its own committee of privileges. Okay, and it has a semi-judicial functions and examine the case of breaches of privilege of the house and its members. Okay, so it look at the privileges which are given to the MPs as the individuals as well as the member of the house, and if there is any breach. So this is the function of Committee of Privileges. Now let us move to the next quick update. The next quick update is about the global report on use of sugar sweetened beverages taxes and alcohol taxes. And both the reports are published by WHO. Let us understand about the key findings of these reports. First of all, impact of health taxes. So that these taxes reduces consumption of harmful products such as sugary drinks and alcohol, preventing non-communicable diseases. As you might be seeing that there is increase of non-communicable diseases such as diabetics, cancer and other diseases. So they putting of higher taxes on sugary drinks and alcohol prevent such type of diseases. Then they also help in raising resources for government to investment for the health. And they have also supported this finding with an example of UK. UK has put a health tax on these drinks in year 2018, I think. After that, they have seen that there is decrease in the obesity in the population as well as there is increase in the resources for the government. Second finding is that the rising real affordability for the alcohol. So they are saying that although the alcohol is taxed at a higher rate, but the inflation and the growth of the people is the higher than the tax applied. That's why the alcohols are becoming affordable to the people. Then they also find out that there are tax gap for the sugary drinks. So they are saying that although the tax is applied on the carbonated drinks such as Coca-Cola and Pepsi, but some sugary drinks are escaped such as 100% fruit juice or sweetened milk or other ready-to-made tea or coffee. Such types of drinks are not coming under the purview of the health tax, whereas the Coca-Cola and Pepsi are coming under the purview of health tax. That's why there is a tax gap for the sugary drinks. That is the finding of these two reports. Okay, now let us move to the next quick update. The next quick update is about biosafety levels. Before understanding this news, let us understand about biosafety and biosecurity. Basically, biosafety means when an individual get connected with the pathogen in a lab or a single individual. Biosecurity is a broader concept which talks about biosafety, biosecurity in overall, that there should not be any transfer of the pathogen, or disease should not be transmitted from one individual to the another individual. That is biosecurity. Here we are talking about biosafety. And what is the context? The context is that the Home Minister has laid the foundation stone for the first state-funded BSL-4 containment facility in the laboratory in the Gandhinagar. This context is also important as this is the first BSL-4 facility. Let us understand about the biosafety levels. So these are the individual safeguard designed to protect laboratory personnel as well as the surrounding environment and the community. Biosafety, biosecurity are two different terms. Please be very clear about that. So there are 4 biosafety level, that is BSL-1, which is at low risk agent, then BSL-2 moderate risk agent, BSL-3 high risk airborne pathogen, and BSL-4. These labs work with the highly dangerous and exotic microbes. Here we are talking about diseases such as Nipah virus, Ebola virus. Such types of very high infectious and dangerous microbes are considered under BSL-4. So here the development is related to BSL-4. Now let us move to the next quick update. The next quick update is about root wilt disease. So the context is that the coconut are under threat from the root wilt disease. Basically, this disease is decades old. This is, I think, 100-year old, but it was not spreading. But recently, we have seen that this disease is spreading at a very fast pace, and the reason can be the climate change and the other reason. So it is a debilitating, slow spreading disease of coconut palms caused by phytoplasmas. And what are phytoplasmas? Phytoplasmas are phylum restricted plant pathogen bacteria transmitted by insects. There are 2 parts in plant. You might have read in biology, phylum and xylem. Phylum carries nutrition, xylem carries water. Okay. Now let us understand about coconut. Basically, they prefer a humid tropical climate, typically in the coastal areas, and they are mostly found in Karnataka, Kerala and Tamil Nadu. Around 80 to 82% of Indian coconut is from these 3 states. Then considering about temperature, they grow well in 20 degrees Celsius to 32 degrees Celsius, and they require a high rainfall, that is up to 1000 millimeters, and it require plenty of sunlight, and their soil type requirement is red sandy loam, laterite, alluvial soil, and India is the 3rd largest coconut producing country. And the major producing states are given, we have already discussed, those are Kerala, Karnataka and Tamil Nadu. Okay, these 3 states almost contribute around 80 to 82% of coconut production of India. Now let us move to the next quick update. The next quick update is about the Chabar port, and the context is that India is exploring option to retain presence in Iran Chabar port amid US pressure on Iran. So you might have heard that US has talked about putting tariff on the trade partners of Iran as well, and we are present at the Chabar port and forming it and developing it. So that's why we are finding options to retain presence in Iran's Chabar port. Now let us understand about the Chabar port. It is located in Iran, Sistan and Baluchistan provinces on the Gulf of Oman. So it is somewhat near to Pakistan, and it is the sole deep sea port directly connected with the Indian Ocean. That is the Iran sole deep port that is directly connected with the Indian Ocean. And there are 2 terminals in this, and they are known as Shahid Behasti and Shahid Kalantari. These are the two terminals under this port, and this port is very important for the proposed international north-south transport corridor. That corridor will provide a direct connection to India to Russia from the Iran, Caspian Sea and the Eurasian countries. Okay, so that is about the Chapar port. With this, we have completed the News Today discussion for today. To read further about the current affairs initiative of us, you can visit the digital current affairs, and please solve the questions which are visible on your screen. Thank you and all the best for your preparation.